Hi, Jase. How you going?
Hi, mate. You all right?
Yeah. You've just been in hospital. How you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. A bit delicate at times, but yeah, progressing well. Got the new mode of transport.
That's the fellow shoppers out of the way, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's right. This one actually has been pimped, so I've got a bag on here with all my accessories. You know.
How long are you going to be using them, do you reckon?
Hopefully not too long, but they reckon it can be anything between 6 and 12 weeks. So,
oh bloody hell!
I guess it depends on individuals' healing process and state of mind and all that stuff, I suppose. I can already weight bear. I just haven't got the muscle to propel me, if you know what I mean. So
the Zimmer frame's been dispensed with. That's it.
Yeah, that was just a temporary thing to get me out of bed and to the toilet. Yeah, I was kind of hoping I'd have that, actually, to be honest, because it seemed a lot easier to manoeuvre and walk with. But the trouble is, with the Zimmer frame, you're relying on the frame too much, whereas at least with crutches, you're relying on your muscles and building your muscles up a little bit more. Yeah, so it's a whole different ball game for walking. You're basically, with the Zimmer frame, you're just as lazy as you like, you know.
It's digressing a bit, although on the same kind of theme. My wife, we're on the subway this morning, and she was showing me this car. I don't know why they were using it in Japan, and it was a sky blue color, very thin. Actually, some of the convenience stores use kind of like very small compact cars for deliveries, meal deliveries and so on. So this looked a little bit like that. It's almost like a trike with a body, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
It's called a Sulecchi, an Italian car. But what it reminded me of was those old Invacars from the 1970s. Do you remember? Do you remember the old Invacars?
I do remember. I was watching. What was I watching the other day? So, obviously, sitting at home watching daytime telly and stuff. They do a lot of reruns of old stuff, and they have the big match revisited on Sundays. Brian Moore, you know, trying to be all suave and sophisticated, and just failing miserably, looking at his comb over, you know. And they showed a match. I think it was Derby County and Notts Forest, I think, back in the 70s. And the guy was taking a corner, and around the corner there were 8 or 9 of these invalid cars parked on the corner. You know, excellent view, but well in the way of the corner taker. Do you know what I mean? He's there. He's looking behind him as he's going to take it. He's like, oh, that's a bit close.
Yes, I was showing my wife some pictures, you know, like that, where they're all lined up. I think Stamford Bridge and Highfield Road were other places where they were prominent. So I got a feeling, weren't they made in Coventry? Were they made in Coventry?
I got a feeling they were made by a company called Peel. Because Peel used to specialise in 3-wheelers. I might be wrong, but yeah, I think Peel made them. And I think if it was Peel, it would have been Coventry, yeah. And
but they don't. I don't think they make them anymore. But they've got them in the some car museum somewhere, wherever that is, a national car museum.
Yeah, I mean, they used to be all over the place. I mean, these days they've been replaced by the Motability scooter, which you see, you know, every 5 seconds you see a Motability scooter getting in the way and stuff. And
is that the one when you're wondering why there's a long line of traffic?
Yeah, it is like that, yeah. And you know that these guys, you know that some of these guys that are driving have never driven a car in their life, so they've got no road sense or whatever, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you see a lot of those, but obviously, as many of these sort of like mobility scooters that you see now is how many of those invalid cars you used to see, or battery cars, I think they used to be called. Well, they also used to have a derogatory name as well, but we won't say that.
Yeah.
But, so
yeah, so that just brought back memories from the 70s of those cars. Anyway, so getting on to the footy. So FA Cup weekend, not for everybody, of course. Cheltenham didn't have a game, although they played. Didn't they play in midweek last week? Didn't they play away? Was it away at Wimbledon? They got a 2-2 draw. Or was it further back than that?
No, it was. It was Tuesday night. It was the night of my operation. So yes, I watched it in hospital.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 2-2. They managed to snatch a draw from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, they've lost a good few points with late goals conceded.
Yeah, I think I may have said to you that I think the reason for it is that it's practically a new squad trying to gel, because obviously they got kind of decimated and ripped apart mid-season. So they got various sort of loan signings and what have you. I think they're just trying to they're trying to gel. They're trying to be a bit cohesive, but at the same time, we've got this kind of negative approach towards the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the game. Doesn't matter what the score is, they just seem to play really defensively and invite teams onto them, and they can't cope with it. They just can't deal with it. So I don't know. Bear with me 2 seconds while I just shut this door.
Yeah.
You want to pause it a sec?
Yeah, okay.
It may take me a while.
Yep. So, not that I live in England these days, but if I had been, it would have been like rubbing me hands on a Saturday morning. That brings back memories of all dayers sat in front of the telly. So a nightmare if you got a mother like mine who hates football. So you probably wouldn't be able to watch much of it during the day. But I think, were there 4 games on?
Well, I'm quite fortunate because obviously Sarah unfortunately tested positive for COVID while I was in hospital. So when I came home, we've had to kind of divide the house up.
Yeah.
And stay out of each other's way and, mask up and all that rubbish. And then, of course, I'm basically based in the living room with the big screen and my laptop. And I was like, as you can imagine. So at one point I was actually watching 3 games at the same time, one on my phone, one on the laptop, one on the telly. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, talk us through it, Jase, because I wasn't really watching much of it. So talk us through it. So what was the early game?
I can't remember now. So the early game was...
Wasn't it Peterborough at Chelsea, wasn't it?
Was it Peterborough, Chelsea? No, Chelsea played Plymouth.
Plymouth, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So it was Chelsea, Plymouth. And at the same time, Kidderminster were playing West Ham. And then I think I was watching some other, not been the 3rd place playoff, I'm not sure, the African nations, something like that. I've done so much football this weekend, I can't remember what I watched when I watched it. But Plymouth, well, they really did their fans proud. I've got to say, they gave the European Cup holders a right old scare. They deservedly led. I thought they were a bit naive when they conceded the goal, to be honest. But excuse me, they had a couple of chances. They could have even gone 2-1 in front. And then Jonathan blooming Pearce, bloody hell! The amount of times he said woodwork in that match does my head in. Does my bloody head in. Yeah, and you can hear it as well. When the ball hits the post or the bar and it pings, right? You can hear it pinging. And I'm thinking, have you ever heard anything ping off wood? No. You absolute idiot. So I had to get onto his Twitter page straight away and give him some earful. He still carries on doing it though. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, digressing. So Plymouth were great. They had the chance to almost last kick of the game, pretty much. They had the chance to take it to 2-2 in the last minute of extra time, which would have taken them to penalties. Penalty taker steps up to take it, looking all really cocky and confident. I knew from the look on his face he wasn't going to get anywhere near the goal. And sure enough, he didn't. It was the worst penalty I've seen for a long, long time. And he just put his head in his hands, and I thought, yeah. I guess you've got to have a certain amount of balls and cockiness to even want to step up and take it. But when you've got other players in your team that have like not missed or only missed one or two, you know, why would you even risk it? You just give it to somebody you know is going to go pretty close.
Yeah, that's kind of where individuality and self-glory is coming before the team glory. I think there are a few other players like that, to be honest. Sometimes, you know, I mean, I'd say Ronaldo's like that, but I mean, there are good sides to that as well, I think. But at the end of the day,
it's like Egypt yesterday. I mean, Egypt in the final of the African nations, they fell foul of that whole "let's leave your best till last" scenario. At the end of the day, I always say you get your best penalty takers out there, get them in there, get them in the back of the net first.
Yeah.
Because it's all very well leaving your best till last, but if three of your fringe penalty takers have stepped up for the first three and missed them, you ain't going to get a chance to have a kick, are you? It's like Salah didn't get a penalty.
Is that Whitney Houston or who was that? Somebody said, "Leave your best till last." Was that Whitney? Somebody sang a song about that, didn't they? Was it Whitney Houston or somebody like that?
Might well have been, yeah. Might well have been.
Phyllis Nelson. Why does that ring a bell? Yeah, so I was following on the.
I think it might have been Vanessa Williams, actually.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of. Vanessa Williams was what I was thinking. Leave your best till last.
Yeah,
I was following it on the text, and it was like into injury time, and they were getting all excited. Could this be one of the great upsets because Kiddie still winning? And but first, I think Plymouth got the penalty, so they were getting all excited, and then there was a big yellow streak across the page and a goal, and I didn't know what was going on. It was bloody Declan Rice had equalised for West Ham, and then there was a picture of the Plymouth guy holding his head in his hands, you know, after they'd missed.
Yeah, but the thing is with Kiddie, I felt really sorry for them because, again, we've touched on this before, but it's not a level playing field for the lower league clubs.
Yeah,
because of VAR.
Yeah,
and West Ham's winning goal. There were at least two players offside, and one of them ended up putting it in the back of the net. You know, and even the commentators were saying, "Oh, it wasn't offside because blah 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 blah." But they were forgetting the other guy at the far post that was also offside that ended up putting it in the back of the net, right? And it's like, hang on a minute, offside's offside, and there's no VAR because it was a non-Premiership ground. If it had been at the London Stadium,
yeah, probably
wouldn't have been given.
Yeah.
And the refereeing is just so shocking at the moment. The inconsistencies in the refereeing. It's almost like they're scared to make a decision because they're going to be corrected on it and made to look stupid, and then find themselves, you know, not reffing at the top level for a good while and all this kind of stuff. It's almost like referees haven't got the courage of their own bloody refereeing conviction at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the assistant linesmen. They might as well not be there. They may as well not be there because they don't flag for offside until after the event. So like a whole passage of play.
Yeah, that's right.
Can happen. You know, in that passage of play, somebody could get seriously injured, and they just don't flag. So But yeah, I felt gutted for Kiddie. I mean, I'm not a great lover of Kidderminster Harriers because of the rivalry we've had over the years, and there's been a fair bit of nastiness and bitterness between Cheltenham and Kidderminster fans along the way. But in terms of Russell Penn and Amari Morgan Smith and Keith Lowe are ex-Cheltenham players. There was one other as well. Sterling, I think, played a couple of games for Cheltenham. Well, I don't really remember him. He didn't really like any fired. They're all ex-Cheltenham players. I felt sorry for him. Felt really sorry for him. I actually felt a little bit sorry for Marlon Pack yesterday at Anfield because, for me, he was a quality player at Cheltenham and he wasn't given the opportunity really to shine yesterday. Cheltenham snuffed him. Liverpool snuffed him out. But gotta give a special mention to Harvey Elliott though. The finish, he after having a bloody dislocated ankle, he must have been going through all kinds of doubt in his mind about whether he would ever play at top level again. And even if you got your mental mindset right, saying, yeah, I am going to play at top level, you still got to then trust your body not to let you down. And that goal, I mean, it was a really good goal, quality goal. So I'm really pleased for him. But the mention of the weekend has to go to Boreham Wood, I believe.
Because, before we get on, that was yesterday. Before we move on to them, can we just finish off Saturday?
Sure. Yeah.
So those were the two early games, and from having what looked like two big upsets on our hands, suddenly it was the old thing, and it happens a lot. You got to say, where the big clubs, they score a late goal, it happens a lot. Yeah. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then I was watching the City Fulham game at 3:00, and then Fulham went in front, and it was a kind of a weird goal. I mean, it was almost like City weren't defending for that first goal. And Carvalho sounds like a foreign name, but well, it is a foreign name, but actually he's played for England at youth level, although I think he's got Portuguese roots. So he looked pretty dangerous early on. Later on in the game, maybe not so much, but I think Liverpool were trying to sign him before the end of the transfer window. It sounds like they will eventually sign him. Fulham, they gave a good account of themselves, but City turned the game around pretty quick. And then the penalty, they got a penalty to make it 3-1. Danny Mills was saying, even though he's a City player, he's got to be one of the most negative pundits about City there is out there. So they didn't really show many replays of that. I personally felt it looked like Grealish was looking for it, but the Fulham players didn't argue very much, and the VAR decided pretty quickly. The other interesting thing about that game was the referee was, I can't remember his full name, Gerrard. He's an Australian guy. So
really?
Yeah, so actually he was involved in. Was he the guy that was involved in those VAR decisions when City played at Arsenal a month or so ago? So I don't know why. Is he just here visiting, and is that a thing that they're doing now? Maybe a swap where one of our guys goes over there? I don't know. Why is he here reffing?
I didn't know anything about it, mate. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. I didn't actually see any of the Man City game. It wasn't available here to watch.
Yeah, it was a full house. Fulham, as I said, they played well. I think in the first half, and most of the first half, the possession was 50-50, which is quite unusual in Man City games. The Grealish penalty happened, and then City got the fourth. I can't remember who scored the fourth, but I think the third goal killed it. And also the manager of Fulham is Marco Silva. So do you remember him? He was at Watford. He went to Everton. There was a big ruckus about all of that, and he was the next big thing. And actually, he didn't turn out to be. But he's doing good things at Fulham. I think he was also at Hull, wasn't he? He was at
Yeah,
Hull
I think
City, and he did pretty
so.
well. He did pretty good there. So it'll be interesting to see. It looks like Fulham might be going up this year, and if they go up, it'd be interesting to see how he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're odds on to go up, to be honest.
Yeah. So that was a City game. And then I think Liverpool play? No, they played on the Sunday. So there was a late game on the Saturday. So
Everton, was it? Everton? No.
Also, of course, Frank Lampard's at Everton now. What do you think about him at Everton, Jase?
I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about it. I'm interested to see how he does, because I always got the feeling that the success that he had at Chelsea, well, if you can call it success, I'm not even sure you can, but the games that he won at Chelsea, I'm pretty sure it was because of kind of what he'd inherited rather than what he'd actually managed to do. I know he took Mason Mount from Derby and blah blah, but
I think Mason Mount was a Chelsea player. He'd just been on loan at Derby. That's all.
Yeah, but he obviously he'd used him a lot at Derby.
Yeah.
And then he wanted him back there at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Called him back. So
he's a Portsmouth guy as well, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he is. So yeah, I'm not sure. I just think the jury's still out on his managerial skills, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, it's a massive opportunity for him, and Everton's, whether you like it or not, it's still a big club. I think it's a good signing that he did with Dele Alli, although Dele Alli does need a rocket up his arse. But I think it's good for Dele Alli. I think, Dele Alli is a talented player, and I think I don't know, something wasn't quite right with him at Tottenham. I don't know whether he just kind of lost his way or whether it was the Mourinho effect on him. I don't know, but I think it's a massive opportunity for Dele Alli to get back in, because he dropped out of the England favour and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think he's a quality player, Dele Alli. I think this is the kickstart he needs. I think, really. Yeah, I think he'll do well at Everton, and I know there's a lot of Everton fans who were saying they didn't want Fat Frank and all that stuff and all those derogatory marks that were coming out. And,
yeah,
I mean, he's nowhere near fat, is he? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of Everton fans, and they couldn't wait to get Rafa out, and now they're not happy about who they've got. So I don't quite know what they want, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. Well, who the hell do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good. I mean, Everton, they are a top club. They should be in the Premiership. Whilst it might be amusing from a Liverpool perspective if they got relegated, I don't think they should get relegated. I think they're one of those teams that should always be there. But again, there's no entitlement to that. You've got to
That's
work.
Right. Yeah. No, you've got to earn it. So, yeah, how do you think that's worked out? Do you remember we were talking about before the appointments were made, who would go to Newcastle, Villa were looking for somebody, and now Everton. How do you think that's worked out? Gerrard went to Villa, Eddie Howe went to Newcastle, and now Frank Lampard's ended up at Everton. Also, Ranieri's gone, of course, from Watford after about 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, two
so
games.
Yeah, what you reckon? How do you think those guys have fared in the short time they've been in their new positions, Jase?
It's a tricky one, because I think whoever had gone to Newcastle were going to be on the hiding to nothing. I think Eddie Howe has got he's got a lot of potential, but again, he's only done what he's done with one club, really.
Yeah.
Whether he can then transpose that to a bigger club remains to be seen. But they seem to have sort of plateaued a little bit, Newcastle, grinding out your result now. I still think there's a massive amount of work that needs doing at Newcastle. and I don't think necessarily just on the pitch either. I think the whole thing needs completely shaking up, because it's, we've talked about it before. Potentially, that is possibly one of the biggest clubs in Europe.
Yeah, I think so. Massive club, yeah.
But as it's shown, you can pump all the money in the world. Doesn't necessarily buy you success. But it's still early days.
But they brought in a few players, didn't they? Kieran Trippier and a few other people. So,
yeah.
So I think the signs are there that they mean business. It reminds me, although they didn't bring in a Robinho, it reminds me of what happened at Man City when Mansour took over.
Yeah.
They brought in who they could get. Of course, they couldn't buy the very best, but they still brought in players who were at a higher level, theoretically, than the players that they'd had. And they gradually built.
Took a while, though, didn't it?
I think it took a few seasons to be able to attract Toure, Silva, but they still managed to make some good signings, even if they weren't top-notch signings that got them in the mix.
Yeah.
So, I'm not convinced Eddie Howe's the guy, but, it was similar when Mark Hughes was already there. So, and then he got thrown out. So they'd been faltering a bit. And they brought in Mancini, who you got to say he did the business.
Yeah, he did.
There was talk that he would. A few clubs have been looking at him. Maybe Man United. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Man United. He's done a good job. He's done a good job with Italy. To be honest, I still have a few doubts when he was at City. Whether he would have been able to maintain the high level, and also in the Champions League, he didn't do very well in that. His record wasn't very good. So, but there's talk that he might come back to England. That'd be interesting if he was the Man United manager. I'd like to know what he'd be saying.
I just can't believe Watford. I mean, what's going on in that club? I mean, you get somebody like Ranieri is always a slow burner, right? I always think he's a slow burner, and you've got to look at his career to say, well, okay, yeah, whatever he's done, whatever he's achieved, he's not achieved it overnight, right? Watford, they just want this instant success, and
I'm not sure. Is that really what they want? I think they don't. Their owners, any drop in standards, and that's it. I think it's more a drop in standard. If they see just a drop in level, then that's it.
Isn't that the same thing, though?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, I don't think they expect to win the league, but I think they expect to maintain a competitive level. And I think Ranieri was just the football they were playing wasn't that competitive. Because I used to read things like in training, their owners, even in training, they analyze how hard the players are training and all that. And if the players are dropping off, then it's on the manager. So it's not just the games; they look at everything, the training, and they.
Yeah, but then even taking all that into account, they get rid of Ranieri after, like you say, 5 minutes, and then they go and appoint Roy Hodgson.
Yeah,
which just seems really weird. They might as well have just given it to Steve Bruce.
No, I think Roy Hodgson, although I'm not a great big fan of his, you got to say at Palace he's galvanised them and kept them in the league. So they were always a difficult team to play. I think that's part of the problem with him. Difficult to play, but not really expansive. They kind of play tight football. So I reckon he'll make them more competitive. I might be wrong, but it's hotting up there at the bottom of the league. Even bloody Norwich, they're not even in the relegation zone now, are they? But I'll tell you who I do think are in trouble. I think Burnley are in trouble. They sold Chris Wood to Newcastle.
Yeah.
So, but I think maybe Burnley accept that if they go down, they go down. They won't be changing how they manage anything. So, because they just don't have the finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, moving on to Sunday then. So we had our fill on Saturday, and then, of course, there was still a load of games on Sunday. And as you say, Boreham Wood, they kept the flag flying for the non-league and won at Bournemouth, who are near the top, if not top of, they're near the top, I think, of the Championship, aren't they?
They've had a bit of a dip in form of late, Bournemouth, but I'm not even sure they're in the automatic promotion places at the moment. But they've had a good season. They've got a good manager in Scott Barker. He seems to know what he's doing. Got a decent little squad. They've made a couple of decent signings lately. Todd Cantwell, that was a bit of a surprise, him dropping down a division.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that one as well. So obviously Dean Smith's at Norwich, so he obviously doesn't fancy him. But I mean, Cantwell, he's like an England under-21, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he would. I actually thought Cantwell would have gone somewhere like Man City, to be honest, because he seems to have a lot of talent. He's obviously bought into the whole ethic of what they're trying to achieve at Bournemouth and stuff. And Solanke's scoring goals for Bournemouth. He couldn't hit a barn cow's ass with a banjo at bloody Liverpool, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, massive result that for Boreham Wood. Their goalkeeper, I thought their goalkeeper was absolutely outstanding. He made two saves, one after the other, point blank. Unbelievable saves. Really, really good saves. I mean, how the hell he wasn't man of the match, I don't know, but he wasn't. Yeah, it was nice. It was, I mean, because obviously it was away as well. I mean, to do it. I mean, you know, we followed non-league football for years. We know how difficult it is to get a league scalp in any competition. And to do it away from home was just absolutely incredible. And Boreham Wood have not actually conceded a goal in the FA Cup this year. That's just unbelievable. That's an unbelievable stat as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I'm really chuffed for him. Yeah, and they would have been playing Cheltenham, and Cheltenham beating bloody Wimbledon.
Yeah, I got to say, so that brings us on to my next point. So I got to say, not always a traditionalist, but some in the FA Cup I am. Bring back the third replay and no penalties and Saturday, Monday, Wednesday games, but
don't even get a first replay now.
No. So, but added to that, I always used to look forward to the draw on Radio 2 on Monday mornings, and there's the draw taking place before half the games have even happened on the Sunday morning.
I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Why do you need to do the draw before the games have been completed? Why?
Well, that's probably part of the financing package that the TV company, I guess it was not a radio company, it was a TV company that wanted to show the draw, I guess. I don't know. I was looking, trying to find, I went onto the FA website to see if I could see the draw, but it didn't appear to be on the FA website. So I was just wondering who showed the FA Cup draw. Was it ITV, BBC? I don't know.
BBC. Right. So BBC had most of the cup games on, right? Man City Fulham wasn't on. but I think all the other games were. And so they had after the afternoon game yesterday, before the Boreham Wood game, they did the draw. So there's still one game left to play. And you're thinking, what's this all about? And then again, traditionalism springs to mind. Whatever happened to the bag?
Yeah.
It's not even a bag anymore. They just put them in this bloody big glass bowl, and they get the camera close up. You can see the ball swirling around in there. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that at all. I want to see somebody's hand going into a velvet bag. Thanks very much.
Yeah, but I
want to see two ex-pros. One drawing the home team, one drawing the away team. Not bloody Andy Cole doing both.
Well, I've got to say, I mean, because there have been accusations of fixed draws and all that. I got to say, going back, when was it? 10 years? I can't remember. And they had two guys. I don't know whether they had the old bag. They might have had the old goldfish ball. I think it was the big bowl. But they had two guests. And the two guests were Noel Gallagher and the guy from Kasabian.
Yeah.
So they both took a ball, one for the home team and one for the away team. And who did they put out? They pulled out Leicester against Man City. So I always wonder about that. How the hell did that happen?
What's the luck of the draw, isn't it? That's the whole point.
Oh,
but the thing is,
what are the odds? Was it the third round game? There were so many balls in to be drawn. What are the odds of that? A City and a Leicester fan pulling out the first balls out, pulling out the Leicester and the Man City balls. I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah. But then you've also got what they did yesterday. It was just a shambles. Well, it wasn't a shambles. I mean, he did it okay, but it just looked rubbish. Having one person drawing out both teams. What's that all about?
Yeah.
I mean, is that cutbacks?
Yeah, that sounds like cutbacks to me.
So if it's cutbacks, then why are you even bothering to do it?
Yeah,
just do it after the.
I agree. Yeah, why don't they have two blokes? Yeah, unbelievable. I remember. Do you remember a long time ago, they used to have the guy from the FA. They'd have one guy from the FA, Ted Millerchip, I think it was, and Alan Ardake, and was he FA or Football League, and a guy from the Football League.
They used to have, what was his name?
Graham Kelly.
It's Graham
Kelly.
Graham Kelly. I mean, yeah, the FA Cup draw, one of the most exciting things on television, and Graham Kelly be there. It'd be like you've been asking him to stick a hot poker up his ass. His face, honest to God, his face would be like, and that completes the third round draw for the FA Cup. The ties will be played, when I can be bothered to tell you. Unbelievable. Graham bloody Kelly, God's sake. That was. Yeah, so old Graham Kelly, he was just like, he was Mr. Misery when he was like, you'd asked him to interrupt his Sunday lunch or something to do the draw. It was like an inconvenience. But I mean, the draw these days, they may as well just do it at the end of bloody Match of the Day and get the guests on Match of the Day to do it. I mean, I can't see why they have to make a big thing, song and dance about it. To be honest.
I personally preferred the expectation on the Monday. I know there's usually a Monday game as well, but why couldn't they do it on the Tuesday after all the games we finished? And there's the build-up. People are looking forward to it. With half the games finished, some people are not bothered, So
yeah.
Okay, so the draw was made anyway. So I know Man City have got to travel to Peterborough. I think Liverpool are going to play Norwich. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's a bit of a banana skin, that is.
Yeah, got a manager rebound, Dean Smith. Although I expect Liverpool to win that myself. And then I think Luton, are they going to play Chelsea? I think Tottenham have got a tasty looking game as well. I can't remember all the fixtures. Do you remember, Jase?
What we haven't done is mention Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I watched Nottingham Forest yesterday against Leicester. They absolutely tore Leicester apart. I mean, got to say, what's his name? Cooper.
Steve Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, what an amazing job he's done there. I mean, watching Forest yesterday, it was like watching Forest of old, but, back in Clough's day. They just literally tore Leicester to pieces. I mean, I know it wasn't Leicester's, top players and all the rest of it. I mean, there was a fair few of them, but they've got some injuries and what have you going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think Leicester this year, they've been thin on the ground. I got to give credit to Brendan Rodgers. I think even last year they still had a fair few injuries, but I never heard him moaning about it myself, like you do some other managers. He just gets on with it. So I think, yeah.
But my cousin's husband is a Forest fan. I was texting him yesterday during the game.
Yeah.
And just after Iheanacho got one back for Leicester to make it 3-1, I think it was.
Yeah.
He texted me and he said, "What was the goalie doing there?" And I said, "Watch it back." I said, "I think the bird put him off." And he went, "What bird?" And when you rewind it, there's a bird that lands on the pitch just before Iheanacho gets the ball. And I think the goalkeeper was like, "What the hell's that bird doing here?" And then Iheanacho just sweeps past him, sticks it in, sort of thing. But I thought it was quite a comical moment. But apart from that, I thought Forest were brilliant. I thought they were really, really good. They played some really, really attractive football.
East Midlands derby, isn't it? So
bragging rights. So I get that. Yeah.
So I don't know
what. Cooper's a strange-looking guy, isn't he?
Why did he leave Swansea? They just lost their way a bit. Why did he leave Swansea?
I don't know.
Because I remember Man City played at their place a season or two back in the FA Cup, won the game, I remember. And then after that, they seemed to go down. They'd been doing well, and then they seemed to go downhill after that. Because also he was involved in the England setup. Wasn't he the manager when they won the Under-19 World Cup or whatever it was, the Under-20 World Cup?
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, he was the manager, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know where they are in the table, but so maybe they're going to be. They've been sniffing around, haven't they, in the Championship for a few seasons without being able to get in a killer punch.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Leicester have got to go to Liverpool on Thursday.
Yeah.
So they seem to be down in the dumps. I read some headlines about Brendan Rodgers needing to get some new faces in just to refresh the squad. Also, there are rumours that Tielemans might be going. So I don't know how much truth there is in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you think about it, Leicester are a top side these days. And,
yeah. I think not so much this year. I mean, it might be down to the injuries, but last year they were certainly tough, and maybe the year before as well. They were a difficult game.
You do get the feeling with Leicester though that if they didn't have Rodgers and they had somebody like Steve Bruce, for example.
Yeah.
Or somebody of that sort of caliber manager rather than, top caliber manager.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that they would go down. I do anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but what you call him, the guy that was there before Ranieri, I can't remember his name now. His son played. He's managing somewhere else now. I can't remember, but he was the guy that actually started the turnaround. So I'm not sure they'd go
Pearson.
down.
Is it Pearson? No?
Yeah,
Pearson.
Nigel Pearson, wasn't it? So Yeah, I'm not sure because they seem to have a good setup there. I think they got paid a lot for bespoke, as they like to say, training facilities and all that.
Yeah.
So I think if Rodgers left, I think that's a good thing about him. I'm sure some other clubs are interested in him, but I think the thing about him, I'm not convinced because I think there were rumours that maybe Man United wanted him or something, but he said came out and said he was perfectly happy at Leicester. And I believe him more in that comment than I would certain other managers if they said it,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I'm more than happy to see Leicester up there. I'm more than happy to see West Ham up there as well. I've got a bit of a soft spot for West Ham actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, the old manager merry-go-round, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when you think about it, you got to think in the wider scale of things. They won the league title. I can't. How many seasons ago is it now? And then they also won the FA Cup. They'd never won the FA Cup before. Had they won the league before? I'm not sure they had.
No,
but within a few years, they've won the two biggest domestic trophies.
That's right, and had a good run in Europe as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I would say that's a very good return, and they're not finished yet. Although, people like Kasper Schmeichel, how many seasons has he got left?
Well, he's a goalkeeper. He's probably got more than most.
And then what's his face up front, Jamie Vardy. So I don't think he's got long left either.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't featured yesterday. I think he's injured.
I think somebody was saying that he's the best signing in Premier League history. They paid $1 million was it from Fleetwood? They signed him from Fleetwood for $1 million.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a bargain, isn't it? It's a bargain when you consider the return that he's given them, goals-wise.
Yeah.
And for England as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, I can't actually think. Maybe Steve Bull, perhaps, but I can't think of a better signing. I mean, Steve Bull wasn't really a signing. He came up through the youth, didn't he, at Wolves, I think.
Yeah, I think he spent some time at West Brom as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, you're right, he did, yeah. But I think he started at Wolves as a kid.
I think you're right.
Yeah. I can't think of a better deal than Jamie Vardy ever. Unbelievable. Fleetwood must have been like kicking themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
That'd be like Cheltenham if Mo Isa goes on to be like the English Pele.
I think also just the right environment, right timing. So sometimes just the place might be wrong, the manager may be wrong. It might be the style of play. It just could be maturity as well. Players might not have been reached maturity or not psychologically ready for it. I guess there is.
I do wonder that sometimes about Cheltenham in that respect. It's not like everybody says, "Oh yeah, it's a great little family club. It's a great environment. Blah blah blah. The dressing room's great, etc., etc." But how many players over the years have we got in from other places where they've had a hatful of goals in their career at other places, and they haven't scored, or they've scored maybe one or two for Cheltenham, and then they go to another club, and then they go and get a hatful again, and they always score on their return at Whaddon Road for the other team. How many players? I mean, literally, there's a whole book full of them.
Well, I'll tell you one like that who signed for Man City, and coincidentally, they signed him from Swansea. Was the Ivory Coast guy, and he was
Wilfred Boney, was it?
He was absolutely. When he was at Swansea, he was fantastic. He went to City, he was terrible, really rank bad when he was at City. I don't know what happened. And also another mystery one at Man City was, and it's even more bizarre because for the first half of the season, he was phenomenal, and that was Alvaro Negredo. He was fantastic with, and then he got an injury again, coincidentally, shoulder injury at West Ham, and then after that, he was hopeless. What happened there? That was really strange.
Yeah, there's a few players like that. I mean, it's quite a few at Cheltenham spring to mind. You know, the Chris Camdens of this world. I mean, that guy, Chris Camden, scored literally hundreds and hundreds of goals everywhere else he'd been. Cheltenham, he was literally like a Shire horse.
Wasn't Mick Huey a bit like that when he played for Cheltenham as well?
Rob Collin.
Rob Collin. Mick Huey, he played for Cheltenham, didn't he? Came to Cheltenham.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's like, what's going on? What's going on? Andy Gray, even. Andy Gray took him 13 games to get a goal for Cheltenham, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so Cheltenham, no league game at the weekend because who was it? Wimbledon. Who were they meant to be playing? I don't know, but anyway, they didn't play. But we got some midweek games coming up, Jase. So the Premier League's returning. Cheltenham have got a game in Division 1, so hosting Sunderland. So I don't know. Have they got a new manager yet? I don't know. Have they got a new manager yet?
No.
But
Dean's a hot favourite at the moment.
Isn't Jermaine Defoe playing for them now? Just signed.
Yeah.
So, as I said the other day, he's just going to be taking the football on with him, don't you? After tomorrow.
Yeah, it's got a debut hat trick written all over it, isn't it? As you said. Oh, jeez.
But these are the days.
I fear for us because I think they beat us 5-0 up at their place as well.
Yeah. But these are the evenings we dreamed of. When we were following them around in the non-league days. So
yeah,
I'm glad we're in Division 1, to be honest, and giving a good account of ourselves.
No, so am I. So am I. I really am. But I think my fear about being back in League One was, when people say to you, who do you support, and you say Cheltenham Town, they all look at you. They'll go, Charlton? No, Cheltenham, right? How many times do I have to say that? I have no idea. Anyway.
Yeah, I worked in London for a bit, and I used to work with a guy. He'd come in with a smiling face, and people say, "Why are you smiling?" Say, "Oh, Charlton did the business," and I had the same thing as well when they used to ask me, who do you support? And they used to say Charlton, as in the London Valley Charlton. So I used to get all that as well.
Yeah, so I get that. But I think my fear going back into League One was that there was always that sort of big fear that you are going to get literally royally turned over every week, 5 or 6 or maybe more.
Yeah, there hasn't been much of that, though, just the odd one here and there.
No, there hasn't been much of that, but you do know when it does happen, every other really good result just falls by the wayside because you just get that whole, Cheltenham, they're shit. They lost 5-0, they lost 6-0, blah, blah, blah. You get it all the time,
Yeah, I don't worry.
And then you do get, if we then get a result against a well-known team like Ipswich or whatever.
Yeah.
Twitter just literally comes alive with all the people like, what? You lost to little old Cheltenham? It's like, it does my head in.
Yeah, I don't worry about that. I mean,
don't worry about it. It just does my head in.
Yeah, just look in the book, as our old cricket captain used to say.
I know when we played Man City in the FA Cup, I literally was dreading us getting annihilated on national television. Like 8 or 9 or even 10-0. I was absolutely dreading it. And for us to end up being 9 minutes away from knocking them out.
Yeah.
And being talked about by everybody for the next 2-3 weeks was brilliant,
Yeah, I can still see that big swirler boot up in the air, very unmanned City like. and you just knew that the two central defenders were going to make a Horlicks of it.
Horlicks.
Yes, the City are playing Brentford, of course. So, and I don't know how soon Mane and Salah are going to be available, but they've got a home game against Leicester, as we said. So, so the league, it's kind of been stop go, hasn't it? I mean, the FA Cup, and then they had the week out. I'd completely forgotten that they had that mini break, to be honest. So, did you remember that we had the mini break?
I knew there was one coming up. I just didn't know when it was.
What do you make of it? What do you make of it?
Not sure. I mean, I could understand if it was like next season with the World Cup and everything. Couldn't really see the point this time.
Also, Burnley, I think they've got a load of games to make up. I think they're in trouble myself. As I said, they sold Chris Wood. I'm not sure. Did they bring anybody in? I'm not sure they did. It's almost like they're resigned to going down if that's what's going to happen. What do you reckon?
I think you might be right. Yeah, I mean, they haven't got the resources to bring anybody in, really. I don't think. I think they rely on their youth policy quite a bit. But I'm amazed that Sean Dyche is still there, to be honest.
But they must get, make a bit of money from just being in the Premier League, I'm sure. So I'm sure they tied over. They're doing all right because their outgoings aren't that big.
Well, yeah, you'd think so. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, when I think about the finances of clubs, and I wonder sometimes, why they are so vastly different. I mean, for example, if you compare Cheltenham with Portsmouth, for example, right? Yeah. So Cheltenham, I'm looking at the gates for Cheltenham, and actually they haven't been too bad lately. They've been like 4.5 up to 5,000. It's not bad for Cheltenham.
No, that's very good.
But that even if you wanted to cram 15,000 in Cheltenham, you couldn't do it because there ain't the capacity. I think the capacity is 8 or 9, isn't it, or something like that.
I don't think it's that big myself, is it?
Yeah, I think it's about 9 now. But even so, you couldn't do it because they just haven't got the facilities to do it. Whereas with Portsmouth, for example,
yeah,
they're a League One side, and actually looking at the way Portsmouth are playing at the moment, I think they're actually punching above their weight in League One, to be fair. But they still get 19,000 fans on a Saturday, and they're just up in the capacity at the ground at the moment.
Yeah.
You think, Christ, why? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it.
Okay, and we can't forget Senegal. I think they first African Cup of Nations victory in 60 years. So,
I thought they were shocking. I didn't think they deserved it, to be honest. I thought they were absolutely awful.
So I didn't watch it myself. So what about Egypt? How did they play?
Yeah, I thought, again, Egypt probably maybe punching a little bit above their weight, but I thought they deserved it. I thought they were the better team. I think they made a bit of a cock up by not going with their best penalty takers first. Easy to say in hindsight, but at the end of the day, you've got somebody like Salah and his talent and his ability. He doesn't get to take a penalty.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's a waste.
I think what they were doing, I think they were banking on that everybody was going to score, and it was going to be a literally one-on-one shootout between Mane and Salah, and it didn't work out that way.
Like, Bruce Forsyth used to say, points on the doors.
Exactly, yeah. It was Larry Grayson, and it was scores on the door.
All right, sorry. I knew knew I'd get it wrong. I knew I'd get it wrong.
Yeah, let's have a look at the scores on the doors, please, Euler.
Yeah. I was going to say Cynthia Redfern, but that was Bruce, wasn't it?
That was Bruce. Yeah, it was Euler Sinclair with Larry, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Jeez.
Okay.
But yes. So, oh, did you notice I found my Periscope game, by the way?
Yeah, I looked. Yeah. Brought back memories. Okay.
And I did try it as well. I did try the old, tilting it to see, and you can count the number of holes. Brilliant. Anyway, digressing. So yes, I thought Egypt were good. I thought Burkina Faso were great. I thought is it the Comoros Islands or whatever?
Yeah.
Brilliant, really good, really good.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing that let that tournament down was the standard of refereeing. God, it was woeful. It was Sunday league football sometimes. Really was.
Yeah, so I don't know how those countries are faring in the World Cup qualification, but we had some World Cup qualifiers here. So Japan, they won a couple of games. They beat Saudi Arabia and China. I think Australia struggling, might already have been knocked out. I'm not sure, but so I think to go through, so it looks like maybe Saudi Arabia and Japan are qualifying, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. So, Japan, they're a competent team. And I think, their players are getting more and more international experience. They're playing at foreign clubs, which maybe wasn't so much the case in the old days.
Yeah. I've always been impressed with Japan, and certainly with their fitness and their quality. The only thing that for me has let them down has been their physicality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But that seems to be changing.
Yeah.
Gradually.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say. So, maybe it's a bit backward to say it now, but my wife says the same. They just need that great big bulk of a centre forward to one way or another get the ball over the bloody line. They need.
Well, they had that guy Fred, didn't they, from Brazil?
Fred.
Yeah. Japan had some guy called Fred.
I can't remember bloody Fred.
I mean, he was just. I'm gonna have to Google it now because you got me doubting myself. But I'm sure they had.
I'm going crazy. It was bloody Fred.
I'm sure they had a Brazilian called Fred.
No,
Yeah.
not Fred.
Not the
Stone.
No, not the Fred that plays for Man United. But there was another guy. It wasn't in the last World Cup. I think it might have been in the World Cup before.
God, who was that?
But he was like 6'2" or whatever. He looked really out of place in the Japanese side because obviously he didn't look Japanese either. It was because he wasn't. He was Brazilian, right? Yeah, it wasn't Fred. It was my mistake. His name was Alex.
Right. Yeah. I kind of I can't remember him. I can kind of remember him, but not that well.
Alessandro dos Santos.
Yeah. I kind of remember now. Yeah.
Often known as Alex, is a former footballer who was born in Brazil and became a Japanese citizen. He made 82 appearances with the Japan national team. But he was about 5'10", which he looked about 6'3" compared with the rest of them. And when they knocked the ball up to him, you thought, yeah, he's got a chance of actually at least knocking it down into the path of somebody else, Kagawa or whatever his name was. He used to play for Man United.
They had Shinji. Who was the guy that was at Leicester that won the Premier League with them?
Yeah. And they had Honda as well, didn't they, at that time as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
That squad I thought was a really good squad, but apart from Alex up front, they lacked a lot of physicality, I thought. Yeah. But they seemed in the last World Cup, they seem to, have addressed that situation a lot more. They're goalkeepers as well. I mean, I know it's a heritage physical thing, but a lot of these sort of like Eastern nations have very small goalkeepers, and for me, you've got to have a tall goalkeeper. That would be that would be, if I was a manager selecting, you'd have to be 6 foot plus to be a goalkeeper. If you were under that, you wouldn't be in goal.
To be honest, I'm not sure that might have been the case, but I'm not so sure it's true now, to be honest. Yeah, just on that.
Maybe. But look at Mendy. Mendy is a massive, massive guy. He's a proper unit, that guy, and he's possibly the best goalkeeper in the world, isn't he?
Well, that's what I've heard people say.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him in the penalty shootout yesterday.
Yeah.
And all I know is if I'd have been stepping up to take one of those penalties with him in goal, that goal would have seemed fairly small.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got somebody like, who's the keeper I'm thinking of in my head? I think it's the Chilean or the Paraguayan keeper at the moment. He's really tiny, really tiny. In fact, you put the gloves on him, it looks like he might fall over. The gloves are too heavy, I'd be like, I want to take one against this guy because he's not getting anywhere near it, But anyway.
Yeah, just staying on the Asian qualification, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in any kind of football was a few years ago. I'm not sure whether they've been involved in the qualification because of the COVID, but a few years ago, Japan played in Pyongyang in North Korea. You've never seen anything like it. A full stadium, orchestrated singing and dancing. It was unbelievable. Okay, so let's go on and have a look, a rundown of the leagues. So this week, let's have a look at 5th place teams. I do it like this because hopefully if you choose different place teams, then hopefully more often than not, you'll choose a different club. So Premier League, I don't want to be looking at that page. I wrote it down somewhere else. So yeah, 5th place team is West Ham. I think we had them in 4th last time. So they're kind of, I think they had a bit of a dip, didn't they? And then they came back. Do you reckon they'll be able to maintain that, Jase, or do you expect them to drop off?
No, I think they will. I think they'll maintain it. I think, the cup might be a distraction, I suppose, because they might actually feel they can win the FA Cup. I don't see any reason why they couldn't win the FA Cup, to be honest.
If it were you, whether it was going for the Champions League place or picking up the FA Cup, what would you do? Would you drop off for the Champions League, or would you just try to win the FA Cup and hope you could keep it up in the league? How would you go about it?
I think I'd probably try and prioritise the league place because the FA Cup, as we've already seen, it's such a lottery. I don't think you can really plan for winning the FA Cup. I don't think you can do that. I think you can, obviously you can take each game as it comes and plan to win each game. But I think if your long-term strategy is like, we're just going to go for the FA Cup, I think that's a bit of a gamble to take, to be honest, because it is quite easy just to have an off day, even if you've got your best team out. And at least if you're going for a league place, you've got, if you have an off day, you've got other games to pick that up and do better. So I think I'd be going for the league place personally.
Yeah, on BBC on the texting on Saturday, they were asking for puns from viewers or texters, because Robert Plant was pictured at Agra. So I had mine lined up. It's the Stairway to Heaven. And just as I was thinking, of course, sorry about that, Kiddie. So anyway, what about
I was upstairs having a big log.
So how do you rate Declan Rice?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I mean, clearly everybody loves him at West Ham. The fans love him. I think he's probably the closest that West Ham have got to, their ultimate idol, Bobby Moore. I think, Bobby Moore was very much a sort of, I know he played for Fulham and what have you, but he was very much a, West Ham diehard through and through, wasn't he, Bobby Moore?
Yeah.
And I think I think they've got that in Declan Rice as well. I can't see Declan Rice being tempted away by one of the big four.
You reckon he'll stay then?
Yeah, I reckon he will. Well, certainly while West Ham are doing all right, I think he will. I think, yeah, I can actually see Declan Rice going on to be England captain, to be honest.
Okay, and then going down into the Championship, rearing their head again, and we got Huddersfield on the quiet. We haven't heard a lot about them for a while, but they're up into 5th in the Championship. So they, of course, were in the Premier League a few years ago. So I don't even know. I don't even know who their manager is. Do you know who their manager is?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's that German guy. He left, and then he went to Austria or something. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know who's managing them at the moment.
Okay, and then
again, Huddersfield's another one of those, sleeping giants of that sort of lower league.
Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, there are a lot of clubs like of that ilk, aren't there? To be honest.
Yeah.
Then if we go down to League One, Cheltenham's league, Oxford are in 5th there. So they seem to be doing well, don't they? So they're not.
Have they still got Michael Appleton? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know who's their manager, to be honest, but they're in 5th, so of course that's a playoff place. Then if we go down to League Two, we got Newport. They seem to have been there or thereabouts for season after season, it seems to me, Jase. And I forget what his name is, Mike, what's his name? So their manager, I guess it's the same guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I'm rubbish at manager names.
So, and go down again. Let's go down into the National League. Who's 5th in the National League?
Bromley?
Boreham Wood. Boreham.
Right. Where are Bromley at the moment?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think they might be there or thereabouts. Then if we go down into the Northern League, Northern, Chorley are in 5th. I think we talked about them before, so they must have been in a higher division. And then in the National League South, Ebbsfleet, I'm sure we talked about them as well previously. Yeah. So they were obviously in a more advanced position. And let's have a sneak into a foreign. Let's keep domestic and look at another league. So the Southern League South Division. So that's Pool's League. So Gosport Borough, a 5th there. That brings back memories. Do you remember of Cheltenham's Southern League days? Gosport Borough.
Just up the road from me, mate.
And then if we have a look at a foreign league, let's have a look at the Danish Superliga. And a team called Randers, they're 5th in that.
Randers?
Yeah, I remember seeing their name before. I'm not sure, but I got a feeling they might have come up from a lower league.
Sounds like a dodgy Walsall nightclub.
With a chippy next to it.
With a curry sauce.
Yeah. Okay, and then we've had the FA Cup. I thought they alternated the FA competitions, but this Saturday coming up, they've got both the trophy and the Vase going on.
Right.
So picking out a couple of teams that we've been following on and off. So where is it? Yeah, Anstey Nomads in the Vase. They're at home to Wythenshawe, who I think must be a Manchester team.
Yeah.
And in the trophy, Halifax are at home to Notts County, of course, 2 former league teams.
I'm gonna put my neck on the block now, and I'm going to tell you that Halifax are going to win that trophy.
Billy Waters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's covered most things. And so to finish, unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about, Jase.
Can't think of anything.
So as I talked to you about previously. So we finished the all-time 11. We're going to do a Cheltenham, all-time Cheltenham 11. So unless you want to start off somewhere else. So starting off with the goalie seems a good place to start. So I don't know whether you thought about who your goalie would be. So
I've thought about my entire 11, to be honest.
Yeah, well, let's save the other lot for
I will.
rainy days. So who's your got Cheltenham all-time Cheltenham goalie?
Well, when we're talking about all time, are we talking about in our time, or are we talking about?
It can be whenever you want. It can be you've read about him, you've heard about him, you've seen him in the flesh, you've seen him on TV. It doesn't matter.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna base my 11 on players that I've actually seen play for Cheltenham.
Okay.
In the flesh, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So obviously we've had some good goalkeepers in our time, in my time. We've had some rank goalkeepers as well. And we've had some. Yeah, we've had some really loyal keepers as well. If you think about it, well, we had Shane Higgs and Scott Brown and Steve Book. They had so many games. I mean, Higgsy and Brown were on the bench for God knows how many seasons before they got their chance, and then they had long runs themselves. So,
I remember Shane Higgs wasn't he number 2 to Steve Book?
Yeah.
And then what goes and happens? He then goes and plays for Leeds.
Yeah. But I mean, he was one of Charlton's better keepers, Shane Higgs. We've also had one or two loan keepers that have been spectacular as well.
Yeah.
I remember we had was it Steve Weaver we had on loan for about 2 or 3 games. He was brilliant. He was really brilliant.
I remember him.
We also had Crystal Palace legend Paul Barron.
Yeah.
Who was pretty dire for us. He was massive guy, wasn't he? Massive keeper. We had back in the early days of watching him, we had Neil Hards, who was a classic. Chris Ogden. You remember Chris Ogden?
Yeah, I remember the name, yeah.
Absolute classics, those guys. Jeez, absolute classics. I mean, you could have the crack with those guys behind the goal and the banter, and it was all good stuff. And then obviously we had Vince Bartram as well on loan from Wolves. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm friends with Vince on Twitter. That's quite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then there's what's his face that played for England? God, his name's escaped me. Was it Stoke?
Jack Butland.
Jack Butland, yeah. He was great. He was really good. I mean, yeah, I can't honestly remember a better shot stopper than Jack Butland at Cheltenham, to be honest. But there was other elements to his game that a bit questionable at times. Yeah, whole list of really good keepers for Cheltenham. But for me, the one where I always felt confident when he was in goal, I always felt that we wouldn't concede many, or if any. And certainly, his popularity and the way he stayed afterwards when he finished his playing career and coached, other players. Like we had Griffiths on loan from West Brom. He was coaching him, and also we had who else did we have on loan? Well, Owen Evans. He's now our keeper. We had Owen Evans for a while. We had Flinders. We had Carson, and he was coaching all of these guys. So for me, Cheltenham's all-time number 1 is Steve Book.
So Tony Book's nephew as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, of course, I remember Steve Book from the promotion days. And you've got to remember as well, I've been away for a long time. So I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the newer guy. Wasn't there a goalie from Everton as well? Or was he a left back? He might have been a left back. Didn't they have a goalie from Everton?
Left back, Luke Garbett.
Luke, yeah, left back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about Steve Book. So he was a big part of Cheltenham going into the league and consolidating the position there as well. And
great character as well, really great character. Always had time for the fans, always had time for the crack. He also played for England non-league as well.
Yeah.
And like I said, when he stepped down and Higgsy took up the mantle, he coached Shane Higgs, he coached Scott Brown, and those guys, they've all done well for themselves. And I think a lot of that is down to Steve Book as well.
Yeah,
I think for me personally, his best ever game for Cheltenham just happened to be the FA Trophy final. Brilliant. His kit was a bit questionable that day, but he had some questionable kits, did Steve Book, but
yeah,
he was for me, he was our Bruce Grobbelaar. Sometimes he would do something really crazy,
yeah,
but he'd still save it.
Yeah. So let me think back. So I think Chris Ogden might have been the first goalie I remember, and then Neil Hards. God, I can't remember who was the goalie in the 80s. So
it was Kevin Malloy, wasn't there?
Well, I don't remember him. So
it was Kevin Malloy, and there was all the Welsh guy as well, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm struggling. Alan Churchwood. Alan
Churchwood. I ignored Alan Churchwood.
So,
and of course, Alan Nichols, who had his life cut short.
Yeah, of course, Alan Nichols. Yeah, and rest in peace. And of course, Steve Book, and then
Paul Bastock.
Sorry,
Paul Bastock. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I kind of remember. Was he the guy from Exmouth? Who was the goalie?
Yeah. He had a blinder against us in a cup match, and we signed him the day after or something.
And the left back as well, didn't we have with a funny run?
Frank Howarth, was it? Frank Howarth? Was that his name? Frank Howarth? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, could be right. And then I remember when Cheltenham let them go, or one of them go, and they were crying. I remember. So yeah, I always wonder, like Cheltenham last year was it Weaver was the goalie? I just wonder whether the goalie Griffiths, whether the goalie just the difference in level made a big difference in helping us to get up. And
oh yeah, I mean he was great. Josh Griffiths was great for us, and also even sort of when we got to the playoffs the season before and we signed Owen Evans, he was great. I mean, I think he was better then than he is now. He's a bit questionable now.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of those guys, but and I get what you say about Steve Book and all that, but for me, and it was only for a very short time, and you've already mentioned him, but just from my recollection, just seeing him in goal, filling the goal, and when the crosses were coming in, and to see a goalkeeper just pluck the ball out of the air, as you see some goalkeepers and the ball's coming in and there's a big melee, and they seem to be a similar stature to everybody else, whereas you want, like you were talking about height earlier, you want your goalkeeper to tower above them, and to dominate that area. And for me, the one that sticks in my mind is Vince Bartram, even though he only played a few games. But when he was in goal, I think there was another goalie that we loaned around that time, because was that the Jim Barron time? Because he obviously knew a lot of goalkeepers. So
there was one. I can't remember what his name was, but it was one we had on loan from might have been Birmingham, I think.
Yeah, I think we had a few good lone goalkeepers at that time, so there might have been one or two others as well that could have got into contention. But yeah, I just remember Vince Bartram. He just looked of a different level to the normal goalkeepers we had at that time. He just seemed a step above.
Yeah,
so I'm going to put him as my goalkeeper.
Nice. I'll tell him.
Yeah. I was looking on Wikipedia. He only played 5 games or something ridiculous.
Is that all? It seemed like he was there a lot longer.
Yeah, that I thought as well. I thought he played a lot more than that, but that's what Wikipedia says. Maybe you can ask him.
I will.
And of course, staying on Vince Bartram. So he played in goal mostly for Bournemouth and Gillingham.
Yeah.
And he was in goal for Gillingham when City beat Gillingham in the playoff final from Division 1.
Yeah.
And who scored the last minute? City scored 2 goals in injury time or at the death in that game to get it back to penalties. It was 2-2.
Yeah.
And Vince Bartram was in goal for Gillingham because they were leading 2-0 and City got it back to 2-2. And the guy who scored the equaliser for City was Paul Dickoff.
Yeah.
And Paul Dickoff was Vince Bartram's best man, or Vince Bartram was Paul Dickoff's best man at one of their weddings, or maybe they did it for both. I don't know. Yeah.
Wasn't Bartram in goal for Bournemouth when we played Bournemouth in the FA Cup?
He might have been. I'm not sure. Could have been.
I think he was.
Could have been. Also, Krista Warren, he went down to Bournemouth, didn't he, from Cheltenham?
Yeah, after scoring the equaliser.
And wasn't that when Lindsay Parsons and Tony Pulis, wasn't Tony Pulis assistant manager or whatever at that time?
Well, yeah, I mean, Peter Shearer scored for Bournemouth against us as well, and he was playing for us before.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him because I might have forgotten him, but I think he was the best outfield player I ever saw play for Cheltenham.
Really?
Yeah. I can't believe why the hell did Jim Barron, he didn't like him for some reason or other, and we sold him for peanuts to Birmingham or somebody. It was another one of those classic Cheltenham giveaways,
I was having a field day the other day when we signed Charlie Brown. I was like, did we get him for peanuts? I was having a right old field day.
Okay. Anyway, Jase, let's finish that.
All right, mate.
Again next week, if that's all right with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's next Tuesday. I'm having my clips taken out. So.
Yeah. If you can't do it, it's all right. We can skip it. It's okay.
I should be all right. I'm doing no skipping at the moment, mate.
And then cheers.
See you, mate.